Hey, this is Jason J. Lewis, Superman from Justice League Action, and you're watching SuperWonder Legacy.
You're strong.
I know.
Are you a sight for sore eyes?
It's nice to have someone who likes you for being you.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy. I am Jared. I am here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello, hello.
And today is the day, ladies and gents. We are discussing a year in review of one of the best series that DC's putting out right now, and the book that has saved the Wonder Woman fan base, Absolute Wonder Woman. And oh boy, if this book didn't come at the absolute, pun intended, best time ever. Not only do we have a crap series by a crap writer, and then we have this gem in the rough.
I mean, it would have been very interesting in the most horrific way possible if you had Absolute Wonder Woman as basically the initial pitch of it. Being the cold-blooded God of War, basically female Kratos, and then Tom King's Wonderless Woman. Yeah, that I think the Wonder Woman fan base would definitely be like they're already in the trenches, but they will be in the deepest depths of the abyss if that would happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I remember Scott Snyder was originally supposed to write the Wonder Woman book, which, having read Death Metal, I can kind of see it, but it's like the way they did it, it's because Scott Snyder is a fantastic writer. Don't get me wrong. It's one of those occasions where it's like, yes, Death Metal Wonder Woman was good, but it was still up against Bat characters, and I don't necessarily know how he would do in her world. And which then again, we could say the same thing for Kelly Thompson, because I think previous to this, she hadn't written any Wonder Woman content. However, she did do a lot of the female characters at Marvel, like Captain Marvel, like a few other characters, and she was doing Birds of Prey at the time. So it's like when this came out, because remember, my experience with this was I had previously dropped Wonder Woman because of the Tom King stuff. I regained it because I want to support the character, and I didn't have an alternative to Wonder Woman. And then it's like literally this series comes out, and I go, okay, I'll try this. Oh my God. And I was like, it's just Wonder Woman, but in a hellscape, which that's the way a lot of these like absolute books are. It's just the character in a very in a hopeless world, and I'm like, okay, now you got me. Now you got the hook. How do these hopeful characters react in a hopeless world?
Yeah, which is a great premise because, I mean, the main line is so safe. And even if they do these big events, things are going to go back to quote unquote normal. It's like it never happened. You don't have many consequences, and then you have these relaunches and stuff, and it's just the same thing over and over with a little bit of new paint, but even that paint starts crumbling, within. Honestly, the way DC has had this downward spiral, at first it was a relaunch, let's say 5 years. Then it was 2 years. Now it's a year afterwards of a relaunch. It's kind of like, yeah, you're kind of spinning your wheels and running out of ideas for the main line. So with Absolute though, I would say some of it is a little safe because, they are in a different atmosphere, darker, but at the same time, some of the characters are still the same. It's just they are have little tweaks here and there. Batman, okay, he's this big Bane looking juiced up dude or whatever. But he's still that, I would say he's basically Frank Miller's Batman on steroids.
Literally.
Plus, juiced up like Bane. And with Scott Snyder's, kind of obsession with horror. That's cool and everything, but it's still the same thing. The only thing that he's changed so far, of course, you have you know, Catwoman being basically female Bruce Wayne because she has money and the gadgets and stuff. You have them instead of, well, he pretty much ripped off Gotham when Selina and Bruce were, like childhood friends. So,
Which,
you have that.
but here's the thing. That's like general to like, because all of the rogues are his childhood friends.
Right. You have that, but they still end up the same way as the main line. It's just they are exaggerated in a sense. Then with Wonder Woman, yeah, she was raised in hell. And she is a witch, raised by Circe. Circe
Makes
is
sense because of magic.
right. Circe is completely, she has basically been declawed for sure. She isn't catty. She doesn't have that, sassiness. Very trying to make her very motherly, but she needs a little bit more personality. However, she's motherly. And of course, the Amazons aren't there as Diana's support system. Diana's support system was Circe and the little demon pets that, she had in hell. And I'm not talking about Trinity. Trinity is something totally different.
the demon pets are actually cute.
Exactly. And then you have Superman, which he's the super loner. Lois is basically an oppressor in a sense.
So pretty accurate to her. I told you, they're the same people, but in a different world.
Same but different, but still the same, basically. Jimmy is, he's just there. I mean, he helps and everything, but so it's kind of like they, as I said, they try to put them in different situations, but at the same time, the supporting cast still feels the same. And I don't know if you take these leaps, yes, but the leap is very much, it's not wide enough, it's still very safe.
Well, remember, it's like these are certain elements that have to be present in a Superman book. Like you can't have a Superman book without Lois in some way, as much as we would love that.
I mean, you can't, because she's the supporting, because part of the supporting cast. I would say though, at least give her a different role. No, she's not the love interest, as of right now, because we know DC caves to people on Twitter, but it's still the fact that if they are to have like tension or this, if she is to be not so much a villain but an antagonist or something like that, something like that, they don't let it ride out. They have to still be careful and still end up in the same path as Mainline, which is, this is what Elseworlds and stuff is for, to get away from the Mainline. And if you go in the path of the Mainline, you're doing no better. First, you're having the same thing over and over, and you're going to end up tainting this verse. And I mean, the same way the main verse is, where your sales are completely just abysmal.
So, point I want to add there, but it's like, here's the thing. It's like, The sales for the main universe are like bad, but it's like here's the thing. Arguably, you are taking a risk. You are doing something new, putting these characters. Because remember, on Superman, this here's the main difference between this Superman and the regular Superman that makes him better, in my opinion. He's basically the Action Comics Grant Morrison one, where he's back to being the champion of the oppressed. He's fighting against the government this time. So I'm like, okay, that's new. And he's just protecting people, as Superman should. So it's like, I feel like that's the difference between him and Mainline. That's why I don't think that he is like going down the same path as the Mainline, because he's still like against those in power, protecting those without power.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, that is the one plus of Superman within this verse, is that he does feel like the champion of the oppressed, and the, you know, actually they're trying to do the immigrant story right, or the refugee story right.
Exactly, Britt. It's like, here's the thing. When I read Absolute Superman, I'm like, this is basically the way Britt has always described how Superman should be.
Yeah, but of course, I would probably write it better without having...
There is no satisfying you!
No. Because you were still like being offensive towards the Al Ghul, and it's kind of like, okay, again, this is a different universe. You don't have to go extreme.
How though?
Basically, I mean, you're basically, it's except for the sibling thing of Raish wanting, Kyle to be his son or whatever, but it's the same thing as what he wanted for Bruce. And then
no, but how is that offensive?
I mean, you are doing, the whole the way the Al Ghuls are written in Mainline with the stereotypes,
Okay,
and
but
it's like,
this is the absolute line, though.
What I'm saying is, it's the same. It's just like, is given the same problems that within the Mainline with the Al Ghuls. You're kind of, Aaron is kind of giving that towards the absolute universe as well.
Okay, I can see that. I can see where you're getting at.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, yeah, I mean, like, okay, let me ask you this then. How would you do it if you have to use the Al Ghuls?
First, well, I don't know much about them to care to write them. However, it's just the fact of at least have them in their own corner. And bottom line is, stop going straight for the stereotypical borderline or outright racial tropes, with them. Stop doing that. Mm-hmm. And with Talia, especially with her being so a daddy's girl or whatever.
Yeah, that is annoying. I'll give you that.
For once, let her be independent and let her not be so focused on, I'm trying to, get my father's approval while having this guy, even though they aren't doing the whole romantic thing, like Bruce, is still the fact of she is basically used as a pawn, though, for the male protagonist, which is Cal, but again, that's the same thing they did with Bruce. So, as I said, it's the same, but different, but still the same. You can do all the tweaks you can, but there's still problems from the Mainline. You're still unconsciously implementing within Absolute Universe. And that was the same thing at the beginning, even with Steve for Diana. We think that, this is how you're writing them as Diana blushing, and Steve somehow crash lands even in hell on the island, stuff like that. It's the same thing. And where Thompson had to say, well, if you thought that her sacrificing her arm meant that this was like a romantic gesture, it's not. Well, it was written that way. It was kind of written, in that sort of romantic type vibe that if you have numerous people believing that, then yeah, that's what it is. And that also boils down to the perspective of the fans because they are pretty much they expect for Lois and Steve to be the love interest. So pretty much with anything that they
Or for
write,
Diana to date a woman.
what I mean, well, that too with Minerva, but
Mm.
um it's still the fact of I'm talking about traditional
Hmm.
relationships. They think that it should be the one and only thing in every universe. But again, this is a different universe, the a part of the multiverse. When you have a multiverse, when you have these different variations mean you can have something different. So you can explore different relationships. You don't have to be stuck with the same relationship. Batcat being within the Batman, um, absolute Batman. I mean, again, it's the same thing. The only thing that Snyder, what he pretty much said within this relationship is that first he wanted them as childhood friends, and second he wanted to basically have his turn in writing their relationship. And
Which I'll give him that. He hasn't yet.
right, so I pretty much give him a
And
pass on that.
here's the key thing, Britt. He is doing it leagues better than Tom King.
He is, but
And
yeah,
she's a woman of color now.
right. So he gets a pass. He definitely gets a pass on that, and I doubt that he will, write Selena because she's a woman of color. He would, in a sense, disrespect her.
No, if
So
there's one person that I can guarantee you will never disrespect anyone attached to Batman, it's Scott Snyder.
right. So you have that, but still, the thing with um Steve and Lois, it's still the same thing. I mean, even Steve, he's the same as main universe. Boring in the military,
He's
it's
not
just
dating Diane. He's not the focus. So,
he's still there. So
but he's not
either
the
way.
focus. I'm like, okay, I'm fine with him existing as long as he is not her reason for doing stuff, which he clearly isn't in this book. By the way, so let's move on to discussing what has this thing achieved. Which, first off, here's the first part. I'm going to start with this because here's the really cool thing that Absolute Wonder Woman does, and it gets back to the reinvention while honoring core mythos. Because again, yes, it reinvents the character, but it fully centers her in mythology. And that's like one of the things that made me fall in love with the character of Wonder Woman from like the very beginning. Because Britt, you know I'm a huge fan of Greek mythology, and when I see like all the gods in this, and it's like that's the way you do it. Because I think too many writers forget about that. Even King said he didn't want to have the gods in his book until he and then it's kind of funny when we saw how he would write the Greek gods in the Batman issues. We're like, yes, you should have left them out of the book. But beyond that, it's like these are certain parts of Wonder Woman that if you take it away, she's just a generic Xena woman. So it's like when you bring in all the stuff of the world, which this book's slowly doing, but slowly is fine with me. It really like it feels like a return to form in some ways.
Right. I mean, we haven't seen all the gods yet, but so far, with Apollo at least, that the basically the setup of the gods or maybe just Zeus being like this, basically being a bunch of bastards, and abusing their power
Mm-hmm.
and, and seeing how the Amazons basically keeps their ego in check in a
Mm-hmm.
sense, and that's pretty much why they are banished because you have the Amazons who were the first heroes, quote unquote, of the world. And with them knowing how powerful the Amazons can be, united and this sort of influence, they don't want that. And then Diana being this sort of child of prophet, I would say, this chosen one, she can be a threat to the gods. So this sort of storyline, it really is more compelling than, I would say, even Azzarello,
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, he used the gods, but at the same time, it was definitely just a generic soap opera. When you peel back all the layers, it was very much something that you would see on the soap operas, from Zeus being the baby daddy of like 50 million women to him, you got sister wives and stuff with Hera, Hippolyta, and Zola. You have Hera being this scorned wife, stepmother,
Who
and
who goes and lives with the stepdaughter? By Zeus.
yeah,
Zeus is the type of guy that would have a frequent punch card at the sperm bank.
exactly.
But,
And
but it's like, here's the difference though. This could still reinvent, but it didn't change the Amazons into something the DC Amazons are not.
right, so you have the Amazons of New 52, which were, I mean, the excuse will always be that they were trying to do, realism. And I mean, you can't argue that. You really can't, because if they wanted realism, and you the way Post Crisis ended, or with, or the later years of Post Crisis, the Amazons were not perfect. They weren't as bad as New 52 being who they were, but you had things like Amazon Attack, so you can't act like Post Crisis Amazons were just all of, this perfect, you know.
It's like the other thing is, like, I get that you want to go for realism, except here's the thing: that's not what the Amazons of DC were. That may have been what the
Exactly.
Amazons of mythology are, but that's not the Amazons of DC Comics
And
specifically.
I think that that is what not computing in a sense with the fans, because, or even with the writers, and Azzarello, because he thinks of, well, Amazon's realism, that's what we were going for, you know, it's it's within the book. Even Gal, when she was cast as Wonder Woman, she referenced, the Amazons. She said, "Do you know the actual mythology of the Amazons?"
Mm-hmm.
So that is the go-to thing that some people will, uh, reference. So you
Well,
can't really fault them for that. But again,
and let's
yes,
be fair, the context around her saying, "Have you know the real history of the Amazons?" was people brought up about how some people say she's too skinny to play a
yeah, the body
realistic
shaming.
Amazon, and then she goes, "Should I cut off a breast at this point?"
Yeah, it was the body shaming. But that's what I'm saying. It's little things like that that people will reference for the realism, and you can't really argue with that. But yes, it does boil down to, well, this is DC's Amazons, and you can't argue with that either. So either way, I mean, I'm 50-50, to where within the story, I would try to rectify it or redeem it. That the Amazons basically tried to fight fire with fire, and they were
That could work.
all um, scorned. They were with traumatized, and that trauma led to misguided hate, to where they did things that they weren't proud of. But at the same time, once they realized that, you know this is not the way, and they basically work to forgive themselves, and in a sense, repent in a way, then it's like, okay, this is a story that could be told with the Amazons, and changing them to the Amazons that we know, because they have lived for thousands of years. So they aren't going to just be happy go lucky for thousands of years. They have to go through things. So you have to go within that trauma, and how that affects them. And yeah, some of them will be misguided. I would say that's the only way you can rectify the New 52 Amazons, is that they needed that guidance, and Diana would have been that one to help them.
The other thing they could have done is open up the embassy so that leads to, like, them actually seeing what man's world is really like. But on that, we also had strong world building, because it's like the many different lassos that aren't the lasso of truth yet. According to Kelly, the lasso of truth exists. She's gonna find it. It's just right now she has the red lasso, and it's like the lasso of transformation, which leads to one of the best moments in Absolute Wonder Woman like ever, that references Greek mythology that I love. And it's just Wonder Woman fighting mythological monsters, and I love where whenever they're explaining what the monster is, it's shown in like Greek pottery. Like that's the way they relayed information back then. So I go, yep, someone did their homework.
Yeah, I would say that honestly, Diana doesn't need the lasso of truth.
No.
As of right now.
This one, no.
Yeah, this Diana and the way things are. First of all, I would say that even with mainline Diana, if she was written correctly and, actually knew her truth, then she is the reason why the lasso is powered, because she should be the embodiment of truth. So with this Diana, it's kind of like her personality and her whole aura. It makes people be truthful with themselves, and just her whole arsenal. I do like that she has like a bag of magic, and she, you know, does this whole spell things, and Circe teaching her. It I could see Diana as, this magical character that does that kind of thing. But I'm still on the fence of should that be mainline type thing, because in Dark Side, in Justice League Dark, she does have this the witch mark, which, I mean, that was kind of out of nowhere. It was really weird, but if you were to use that, on occasions, I could see Diana with that.
And then we got what will give me bragging rights for goddamn ever, Britt. This thing won some frickin' Eisners. Britt, how rare is it that Wonder Woman books win Eisners?
Every blue moon.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I love where this was up for an Eisner the same time as King. So that way I can from now on label King's Wonder Woman, particularly if he leaves the book after New York Comic Con. I can call it the multi-Eisner Award losing series. But anyway, on this, it's like it won multiple Eisners when you factor in that the colorist got one and Best New Series. So it's great, and it's consistently one of the top-selling books at DC. In fact, in the Bleeding Cool best-selling charts, it outsold Absolute Batman. So for issue 12, and for a Wonder Woman book to be selling this well for a year straight, that tells you something about when people say that no one cares about Wonder Woman or she's a hard character to write. Actually, no. This shows you it's easy to get a popular series out of Wonder Woman. You just have to put someone on Wonder Woman that knows Wonder Woman.
Right. And it's also, I mean, Diana isn't a hard character. She's very compelling, but she isn't hard to the point of you're just feel like there's no stories to tell with her. And the thing is, the biggest issue is that you have, well, I wouldn't say it's a gender thing, because you've had female writers who can't write Diana either. But
Kill Simone.
But it comes down to just the writer preference and their level of confidence. We as I keep reiterating and bringing up about Tomasi saying that Diana is intimidating and how she demands the spotlight and is difficult. It's like, well, no shit. She demands the spotlight. That is who she is. that is the point of her character. Is she is supposed to um push back on these patriarchal views, or the fact of putting Batman and Superman or any of the male Justice Leaguers at the forefront, and she's just a token uh, woman of the group. No, she is supposed to stand as an equal. But so when you have someone who can take on that challenge and put her up there, then you see that she can surpass all the male leaguers. And yeah, there even going to be some, um in a projection type way, but female characters that are going to have that sort of envy of Diana as well. But for her character, she is she's very much for all people. And once you get that story, um, that then you've basically cracked the code for her character. And I think Thompson, for the most part, has cracked that code.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then you get to the balancing spectacle and emotional stakes, because here's the thing. It would be very easy with what this series has done to basically feel like a Michael Bay movie where it's like, oh my gosh, it's a giant monster. Wonder Woman's gonna punch it. Oh, it's gonna go into buildings. But somehow they always find a way to reference either Diana's upbringing or to refer, because if you notice, every time she fights a giant monster, Brit, in the series, it always flashes back to like her younger years where her mother teaches her a lesson, and then that lesson is exemplified or done against the monster.
That's another thing. Baby Diana is
Yeah.
so adorable. Um, those flashbacks, showing, yeah, her upbringing, it really, I don't like that, because uh, to say that, because yes, of course, Diana is very much humanized, but I guess it just emphasized that, you know, so many people um want to say that Diana is just this demigoddess, or whatever. But when you see how she grew up and how she made even Circe more motherly, she, instead of it just being a, rotten cave or whatever, she made it into a home.
Mm-hmm.
And that sequence was so beautiful, to see how Diana changed Circe to where she wanted to have that warmth of a home. And again, Diana had demon pets, but they seemed like regular pets that you would see, the cats and the dogs or birds or whatever, but they are in demon form. That was a very nice touch. But you also, I mean, you would see that somewhat in the main line, but it wasn't emphasized on. And I think if it was emphasized on, you wouldn't have people saying that Diana doesn't have her humanity and she needs Steve to show her, um or think that she's just this demigoddess. You would see that her upbringing, even with Hippolyta, is just the same as any other child, in man's world.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then again, I want to bring this up again. We get more of the mythology part of Wonder Woman to the point where she even fights a giant snake beast. And again, it's just it pun intended. It's absolutely incredible the way that it's like, how just by reading a book you can tell that the writer clearly knows the character. This is one of those occasions where I'm like, no, Kelly clearly understands Wonder Woman and her larger world. So I'm like, that's why every time a book for Absolute Wonder Woman is coming out, I always make sure that I get as much as possible to support it, because this is literally giving me every single thing I've ever wanted in a Wonder Woman book, like everything. And here's the important thing. The important thing here is that, and this is the part that continues to blow my mind about this. So you have Diana that grew up in hell, And we were all concerned going into this that, oh, is she just going to be female Kratos because she's living in hell? Oh, is she going to be extreme? The fact that you can take these new scenarios, like her in hell, Clark coming to Earth as a adult, Bruce not having money, and they still feel like they're regular universe characters, consistent. Obviously, with Diana, it's infinitely better than the way she is now. But my point is, it still feels like Diana, despite being in this world. That in and of itself is an achievement.
Exactly, because like I said, the initial idea was for her to be female Kratos, and for Kelly to say that she just couldn't do it, like, and that
And
shows
kudos
how much.
and kudos to her bosses for allowing her to pivot so much.
And yeah, and the fact that she basically pushed back and was like, I no, that's not Diana. And it really shows that she cares. And it's not like she's giving an excuse, pretty much like the Injustice version of Diana, with Tom Taylor saying, well, I had to pretend that she was a total different character. Yeah, but you could have pushed back on that. Or DC themselves, turning Diana into basically Mortal Kombat, Sindel 2.0, with changing these these iconic women, history to be basically like Mary, to be Lady Macbeth, and the devil on the male shoulder for you to sympathize for the male, things like that. No, that's not how you do things. And then for Diana to be like this goddess of war, or, going too far, she, again, with that idea implemented in New 52, I would say the only person who made it make sense, of course, was Charles Soule, with Diana saying that with that title, she wanted to make, war the last result, the last resort. And she, she wanted to understand it, but she wanted to fight more war with peace. And we saw that also in Future's End when she became the goddess of peace. And then you have where Meredith Finch, she had Diana basically have nightmares and crying blood and stuff like that, and she was basically traumatized. That was the extremity of being the goddess of war.
So what you're telling me is that Finch wrote what absolute Diana almost was?
Well, Diana probably would have been somewhat like that, but we never know. We will never know the details,
True.
But it could have been. For me, again, as a writer, you can make these things work and still go within who she is as a character. It's just a character study and an examination of how far can you take things without truly, breaking the character.
And shout out
Tom
to
King.
Charles Soule for doing that right.
Right. It's not like Tom King breaking the character to the point of she's just a shell of a shell or something like that. But yeah, it is a, I don't know, it's something of a turn of luck, I would say, again, for the Wonder Woman fandom, because if we were to have gotten female Kratos plus Tom King, we definitely would, I don't know what we would all do.
Oh, if we were stuck with that, I have nightmares about that scenario, lady. Now let's talk about what works for Absolute Wonder Woman. She's the compassion and mercy on this. Even when one of my favorite parts of it is when she's fighting the Chimera and she's constantly saying, "No, stop! We don't have to fight each other. We can just walk away. We don't have to fight each other." Or when she has in a headlock, she goes, "Don't make me do this." And then obviously she's forced to kill it. But then she like completely dresses down Hades, which is one of the best moments ever. And it's like the patience of a saint, because Diana has the patience of a saint, but somehow absolute Diana just ramps it up. And then with sacrifice, as you know, she sacrifices her arm, which I know at first you were like, oh, is she sacrificing the arm for Steve Trevor? But remember, Britt, what's the key word? The key phrase about the world that Diana and Clark always say.
Yeah, the world's come first.
Yeah, and that's what that was.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get that Diana is selfless and she will sacrifice anything for anyone. It's just like I said, it was that expectation and pretty much the obviousness or predictableness of Steve being a love interest that you would go
But again,
think,
replace Steve with literally any character. Would Diana
right,
still do it?
right. That's what I'm saying. Yes, she would. But I'm saying it in the perspective of the overall fandom
I
and
see.
the
I
fan
see.
base.
Yeah.
That would be the conclusion, you know, majority pretty much jump to that, oh, she sacrificed for Steve. Because again, that when she first met him and everything like that, and she was drawn or whatever, blushing, they were talking about how tall they are, things like that. It just gave that vibe a little bit, and just that whole thing of Diana turning into like this little blushing little girl or whatever. And then to know that she sacrificed that. Yes, she would do it for anyone else. We know that. But the majority of the fans who, again, Twitter jump to everything is about shipping, you would think that, oh, she did that because it was Steve. And not only that, it's not the fault of the fans either, because again, you have the way Tom King writes Diana. You have two live action movies. You have and whatever else Steve has been in. Let's see. Well, I wouldn't say Tomorrowverse. She didn't really do anything with that. But Bloodlines, all of these features of Steve, Diana sacrificed for him, or they were trying to push that narrative that Diana does things go beyond for Steve that she wouldn't for no one else. Again, we know that she would, but that wasn't what DC was conveying. So that was the conclusion drawn for the fan base that, oh, that's what that was. Her extreme romantic gesture to Steve.
Okay, I see. But yeah, so but then you also have, again, Diana is like, see, this Diana is rougher than the regular one. However, slightly rougher. Slightly. That's the thing, because you can make a more hardcore Diana, but with this, there's just enough of that sweetness in there. And here's the thing. It's my fan theory that Diana has a passive power that it's kind of like pacifies everyone around her, but she makes everyone around her more, not complacent, but like maybe more peaceful. And Circe kind of backs up where, like, even being in her presence, you're kind of like happier. So I'm like, maybe that is, but beyond that. By the way, I will also say this: Hayden Sherman's art, the scale of the giant monster and Diana, the zoom in on her eyes. Every time there's a zoom in on Diana's eyes, Britt, it's like that is like utterly incredible.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
her
like,
eyes are. It is something about her eyes that is so piercing, and so you have these so innocent, and alluring.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously you have the mythology stuff. And see, the other thing that this does infinitely better than the new 52 Wonder Woman by Azzarello. I'm sorry, the god designs in this are so much better. Like, Hades is still a candle, but he's not a candle head. I'm sorry, as much as I liked the designs I liked were like Zeus, obviously, because Zeus with dreadlocks will never not be cool. Hera, And honestly, that's kind of it, because I didn't like Poseidon being an actual fish, Athena being literally an owl woman. I'm like, what? Oh, Apollo was also cool. I liked Apollo. But and then the God of War being basically Brian Azzarello, and the kid with the candle head is just like, I'm not digging that. Particularly when he tried to marry Diana.
Yeah, that was a little off.
And I get that it's like Greek mythology and that's something they would do, but I don't like that. But so let's talk about what some readers may find jarring is like the grim setting. But here's the point to that, Britt. The fact that you're going into a book in the absolute universe that most comic book fans know that the absolute universe is supposed to be more hardcore, and the fact that she still acts human, I think that's kind of like less to a degree, if you know what I'm saying.
Right. She's, again, Absolute was supposed to be this, I think the only thing extreme right now, again, is Snyder's Batman. And this is basically Snyder's playground. He wanted the extreme. He wanted those sort of he wanted those restraints off for his Batman, because he wanted to marry his love for Batman and his love for horror, and just going, buck wild with these ideas that he's pretty much always had. So that's pretty much, I would say, the only thing that's going excessive with the absolute verse, and pretty much the bombastic way it's supposed to be. Everything else, again, you have the other writers, I feel like, are playing it very safe and very um only because I think they also know the fan base, and know that it's some things that even in the multiverse, Elseworlds, whatever, you can't go too far with, which again is such a creative limit, and I can't stand it. If this is going to be an Elseworld, go all out. But still, again,
But on that, if they did go all out, we would have Kratos Diana.
I mean, again, if I were to write her, you wouldn't so much have Diana as Kratos like that. You still would feel, or you would know that that is the Diana you would know, you know. And I just think that, again, you just have to know how to balance it out.
And it's like when you get to new powers and stuff, this I get, because under a lesser writer, it would feel like, oh, she's just gonna invent a new power out of thin air to like fight this giant monster. It's balanced with the fact that we see like the flashback of Diana learning about this thing, so it's not like she just reaches into her bag of holding and pulls out another BS lasso.
Right? No, everything pretty much connects. Is she's not a Mary Sue, not like that. She's a strategist, and Diana, she knows how to fight, it's in her blood, I would say, as an Amazon. She is smart, intelligent, you know, um, that again DC belittles for for some reason. But when it comes to fighting, when it comes to having Diana as this witchy character, no, it's not that she's gonna literally pull things out of a hat, or and that's it. That's all of the story. She is still learning throughout, that not everything that she does is going to be the answer to it all. But what she did learn from Circe, and again, growing up the way she did, she does know how to at least survive a fight with whatever demon type threat that she has to deal with, you know. And I think that that is something, again, it's not just the monster of the day or something. It all connects to something more emotional that that we get to see.
Exactly. and you get suggestions from Themyscira and the Amazonian community. This I get because, again, it's like when Tom King says he didn't want to reference all these different things. But what Kelly does, she still examines them, and you still feel like the spirit of like the Amazons. They still reference the Amazons enough where I'm like, okay. It's like one of the criticisms of the Snyder Cut back in the day that I disagree with is because Superman does not show up until halfway through the movie. But I'm like, if you're paying attention, the spirit and his effect on the world is felt throughout the entire movie. And I feel like that's a similar situation here, because it's like, and also here's the way to look at this. Because she's the quote unquote last Amazon, you see the Amazons every single issue.
I mean, she's still the last Amazon in a sense of
in man's world.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But we
But
still don't know, even if they are still alive, we still don't know exactly where they are. Like they can be basically like Kandar in a tiny little bottle in I don't know, on Zeus's mantle or something. We don't know yet.
yeah, exactly. But it's like, it's like my idea is that if you want to see more Amazons, there's that, or they could do an absolute Amazons book and show like what, like it was a prequel and show what exactly happened, and it ends right when Diana's born.
That's an interesting idea.
It's again, DC, hire us. So let's talk about some standout moments for like our favorite issues. I included a couple. So let's start with this. Yeah, I love this, where the way the paneling and art is done, how you see it's the more Diana ages, the more it becomes a home, and that's a way of saying that Diana herself humanizes Circe. And it's like, as Circe's narration, she basically goes, how you fall in love with a child is by raising it. And it's like, remember, beginning, she was like, what am I going to do with a kid? It's like, if you leave it here, the kid's going to die because I don't care. And then slowly Diana worms her way in, and then Circe becomes an actual mom. And again, this should not work, but it so does, because Circe is one of Diana's greatest enemies in the main universe. But seeing her as her mother in this universe, what a mind F.
Right. And that's the thing. Diana doesn't need to be humanized. She humanizes whoever.
Exactly.
And Circe being her mother makes total sense, because Circe, post-crisis, at least during Jimena's run and Rucka, she did become a mother. And Circe being Diana's greatest enemy in that sense of connecting with the Amazons, and her boundless hate for Diana, in the main universe, and being so petty and wanting to destroy her, really for no reason, and having this resentment for the Amazons and everything like that, and basically turning that all on its head for her to be the mother, be the caring one, love Diana and give her a home. That is the kind of twist that you want for the basic opposite universe than the main line.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, go ahead.
And also just her, I would say Circe has so much more depth than Cheetah, Minerva, as Diana's arch nemesis. Circe just, like I said, because of those connections with the Amazons and everything, she should be number one as Diana's, arch nemesis. And, the way Cheetah has been forced as this, as number one, I just don't see it. This Absolute has really shown pretty much that, like I said, that connection that they have. And
friendly connection. I need to be clear on that to the people watching.
Well, Okay, yeah. Hold on. Rewind. The connection
The
for
platonic
Diana.
connection.
Oh God, I can't believe I have to be so.
Am I
Um,
wrong, Britt?
no, you're not. The connection I'm talking about with Diana and Circe is very much
And Cheetah.
just the fact that it is. Well, I'll get back to Cheetah,
Hmm.
but it's very much the tethered type thing that
Hmm.
you have this opposite of this hate with love. And that is so compelling because, like I said, she's supposed to hate Diana for really no reason or, just being petty. And then you have this absolute verse where she loves her and will protect her and is her mother. That is, and be that mirror basically to Hippolyta. You know, that is something that's so poetic to me and that should be emphasized on and why she should be emphasized more in the main line. Cheetah, on the other hand, again, Minerva is honestly, it's very fascinating how her character is supposed to be a manipulator and she has, in a sense, manipulated the fans too into sympathizing with her character. And, yes, I do blame Rucka for that because to the way
Hmm.
that he has turned things backwards, and it's a lot of times of how fans or writers just write things backwards to fit their very
You
twisted
can say it.
perspective.
You can say the
And
F word, Britt. In this case, it's a fetish.
well, yeah, that too. But the fact that, it's the same thing as how they talk about like Superman is the disguise. First of all, how is him having powers a disguise? That does not make sense. So pretty much it's the same thing with Cheetah, is that to say that the cheetah corrupted Minerva. No, that is not what happened. Minerva, being who she was, as wanting the fame, being jealous of Diana, wanting Diana basically as a showcase or whatever, she is who corrupted the cheetah. And because she corrupted it, she became resentful of Diana and blaming Diana for what she did. But that is not something that you should romanticize, and that's not something that Diana should feel bad for because that is Minerva's fault. Diana's only the only thing that makes Diana feel bad is because it was someone who she thought was a friend. She was used, but at the same time, Diana is so caring that she will still care for you and try to help you. But
Yeah,
again,
but that's
that does
not
not mean
romantic.
right. That's not something that should be romanticized. And that is also why I don't really care for their platonic or whatever relationship or just that whole dynamic. I don't care for it because it has been misconstrued and manipulated um to have this narrative that never was. You're romanticizing for and also when she was first introduced, Minerva was like 20 plus years older than Diana. So, so that's even, more weird. Um, but yeah, the romanticizing of Cheetah should not be because she is the corrupt and she just does not have that sort of connection or that compelling connection with Diana as Circe does.
Exactly, exactly. So then we get to Diana losing her arm. And this again with the sacrifice, it really shows that in this is the one time where the words Wonder Woman and sacrifice actually go together well and are connected to a really contrived story. And it's one of those like it first off it explains the tattoos beyond the fact because obviously we all thought okay they're just surface level tattoos. No, there's a very specific reason those tattoos are there, and it's like and it's like essentially it shows that like Diana will sacrifice anything up until and then including her life for like someone to like be able to like survive.
Exactly. I mean, as I explained it, fans jump to conclusions, but it does show how Diana she is selfless.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what this showed. And it is kind of cool. She shows up in Ada's shop. Here's the other Absolute Ada is a witch, and she owns like one of those curio shops for witches. And this is the other thing I really love about the art, and I'll hold it up to the screen. When her sister is going throughout the shop to find the ingredients, there's a dotted line showing you in which direction she went, and I go, it's the small details that make it all the more like, okay, I'm liking this.
Yeah, it's really fun. The art is, really dynamic and it very unique.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's like Diana, and I just love where everyone talks about the giant sword, and they go, "It's a big sword." Oh, Diana can make it bigger with magic, and she just chops something in half, and I go, "Oh my god!" It's like Diana. It's like DC asked Diana, "How big do you want Diana's sword to be?" And Kelly just said, "Yes."
Exactly.
That's basically the other thing that I love, and this is on the lateral side. When she first meets the snake, like when Apollo first drops her off, and there's a snake approaching, and Circe is watching, expecting Diana to like get eaten by the snake. Diana grabs snake and yeets it, and the caption is literally "yeet." And I go, okay, it's the small details that I absolutely love for that. So then we get the entire fight, really from issues 1 through 4 of Gateway City, because it's like it's just monster after monster after monster. However, they do increase in scale, so it does. The danger is it could get to the okay, it was the monster of the week thing, which I would have been fine if it was just monster of the week, and that's kind of what it originally started off with. But the fact that each one, in a way, it's like revealed another part of Diana, and it was like the way that Kelly. This is the other thing that this series is great, because going back and forth between the past and the present is a danger, but she does it so clearly and succinctly that it's like, no, this is all, yes, some stuff is taking place in the past, but it's all taking place in this one time, in this one like storyline.
Exactly. And again, it all connects together. So the flashbacks, they aren't they aren't for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lesson within there to show this is baby Diana learning something and this is how she uses it for as an adult.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get to the other part of this that I love. And speaking of Gateway City, when she literally transforms into Medusa, this, okay. She becomes a kaiju to fight a kaiju. This is the biggest Pacific Rim thing I've ever seen. And the fact that not only that, so we have the Lasso transformation. Again, it gets into Diana's sacrifice. She doesn't know if she can turn back, and she's just like, no, this is the only thing that I can beat this monster. The other thing I like, this series holds nothing back about what actually happened to Medusa in Greek mythology. Minerva minces no words. And when I'm watching and when I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, thank you for actually going there.
Exactly. Because again, just because these are DC gods, they are still petty. They are still miserable and wanting to basically use mortals and Diana as like their puppets. So yes, please tell the truth about um Medusa or anyone else who was a victim of the gods. Yes, Diana is blessed by the goddesses, but again, they are still very much scorned, especially Hera. So you have to, if you're going, I think that is pretty much where um, Azarello had his line of thinking too,
Mm-hmm.
because you have Diana blessed by the goddesses, but yet you still write them as the vindictive, you know, uh, basically witches, but with a B. Uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
That's clever.
Uh, in other stories after, giving Diana a hard time. So why is Medusa the way she is? Why are the gods as petty as they are? You know, I think that is where that realism comes from, and why there wasn't any bounds when it came to the Amazons. So with the gods, I was shocked that you actually have the real story of where Medusa, originated from. And that is something, honestly, I would say that DC needs to explore more of. That you have Diana blessed by them, but you can't show them as just these perfect goddesses. You have to show that they are just as flawed if you're going to keep them as petty as they are.
Yeah, exactly. You can't, and it's like, it's like the part that really impressed me is they went into how Medusa was R worded. They actually they do not like skirt around it. They do not say assaulted. No, they actually say what it was. And I go, here's the thing: in a more dark and extreme universe, that makes sense. But it's like the very fact that, again, I love that they actually went there and didn't hold anything back. And I'm like, now that takes guts. And you know what? I approve of that. So the next one, and this is the one that when I was putting together the slides, this one that I was thinking of. So as you know, shortly, like, I'm just going to switch. So once you got to like issue 6 and 7 for like the absolute books, they started to have fill-in artists. And when Mateo de Ayus was announced as the artist, and we started to see like his like previews and stuff, this is the type of stuff that 130% fits in. Like, look at that image of Diana in front of Prometheus. That in and of itself could be a poster for a Wonder Woman movie. Like, look
Honestly,
at that.
I definitely need a whole one of his art. I need it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, so the reason why I wanted to bring up these two issues, because it really shows, again, Diana's mercy. And that's the key. That is Diana's most defining feature, is her, obviously her devotion to truth. That's kind of her thing, but her mercy, because if you see, she convinces first off, Kelly references Diana talking to frickin' animals. When's the last time that has been referenced? Not only that, but it's like, she essentially says, hey, can you not, I know you're just one raven, but can you not eat Prometheus this time? And then Prometheus obviously gives her like gives her like the Pegasus, which is badass, by the way. But this again, she's like, she's essentially saying, hey, help me. When she's finding the Chimera, she's like, don't make me kill you, please. I'll do it, but I don't want to. Again, this is what Diana mean. This is what we mean when we say it's not a contradiction to say that Diana is a warrior for peace. Anyone that tells you that, hint, hint, that it's a contradiction, doesn't understand the character and should not be writing the character. Again, massive hint, hint. But it's like, that's what, because Diana will try everything she can to get out of a fight. And what I mean by that, she's not going to cower, but she's going to try to find some way to de-escalate. And that's like why she's a diplomat as well, which is, in their defense, a role that they barely touch, even though they should. But it's like the very fact that she is able to, that she continues to try because she has hope and faith in humanity or creatures, where she's like, no, if I talk to them, they will like relent. But in the event that they can't, she will take a life. It's like, whether it's Maxwell Lord or a Chimera, if peace is no longer an option or de-escalation, Diana will take a life.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Diana, warrior of peace, she's fighting for peace, and that means if she has to throw hands, she will throw hands. The, taking a life is always the last resort, but as you said, Max, uh, Lord, she had no choice, no other option. Um, and that is the thing. She will try to talk you down, you know, try to um, really sympathize and empathize with anyone to understand why are you doing this? Is there a better way? Give you a different perspective. And if you're being stubborn, then I wouldn't say Diana is like, I don't want her characterized as like the mother, that mother role, because she shouldn't have to parent grown people.
Well, if a lot of them
But
act like man children, she kind of has to.
yeah, but exactly, that's what I'm pretty much getting at. But at the same time, they are acting like children. So she does have to have that motherly role or whatever. But if it works, it works. It's just that shouldn't be the go-to thing, I would say. But Diana is an educator too. That is her role. So if she can talk you out of things and give you a different perspective to change your ways, then she also is a redeemer as well. You know, Diana is, that's the whole thing about her character. She is a well-rounded, complex, um, multi-layered character, and she has these different facets that come together as and that very much is underutilized, but I think again Thompson is using pretty much everything. You see her, yeah, as the warrior, but she's also very peaceful. She's very kind, compassionate. She is, you know, even with her fight with Queen Clea, that was
Yes.
it was a brutal fight or whatever, but yet Diana still, like, it didn't break her,
And
you
she
know.
said, and the greatest part of this episode of the issue is when she let Queen Clea escape and said, "No, you don't have to be the villain." She basically challenged her to yes, reinvent who you are, be the queen you should be. And where were you?
Right. It's just things like that that shows, again, she is the number one character.
Yeah, she is, and it's in many ways why I always say Diana is the most important DC character, not Batman, not Superman. Because here's why: they each represent a portion of being a superhero. That's why that's the reason why I think they each work as the Trinity, air quotes, even though that's like an artificial thing, a relatively recent thing. Batman's on justice, Wonder Woman's truth, Superman's hope. You can't get real justice unless there's truth, and you can't be hopeful unless you're true to yourself. So everything that comes with being a superhero revolves around truth. And Britt, which character has a kind of devotion to truth?
Exactly, Diana. Even
Exactly.
right. That's not to say, again, as we said, the Trinity is very superficial.
Mm-hmm.
Diana is not the whole bridge dark and light type thing. She
Mm-hmm.
is not that
No,
for
no,
Batman
no,
and
no,
Superman.
no, 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 no,
She's
no.
not, she doesn't have this supposed darkness in her. She doesn't have that. Um she is a character of light and hope and love, um and everything. She does more align to Clark, but it's still, she's still her own character. She still stands out, and stands out even more than Clark. I don't like that they push, again, they push the male characters to, they are just the embodiment of what it means to be a hero, and then everyone else just follows in line, and especially the female characters. Diana is supposed to, as I said earlier, stand equally, and she is and she has the ability to even do more because she is this well-rounded character that, like I said, not only does she embody all of that of, what Superman embodies, but also she actually accepts who she is or it's written to accept who she is as the outsider, as the proud, Amazon, as this quote unquote foreign woman instead of becoming the poster woman in a sense or poster girl for these American ideals and basically conform to the patriarchal narrative. That's not to say that DC has not tried to. We see that with Tom King, the way he writes her. We see that with even the Captain America crossover recently, and trying to force her into wartime. But all in all, Diana is still very much this embodiment of, and her story is of an immigrant story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And will continue to be. So then you get to discovering Io and the Amazons. Now, here's the interesting thing, Britt. I didn't notice this when I was first reading. If you look really close at Io, you see markings all over her skin. She has drawn a map of the maze that she's stuck in on her body.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
I was like, oh,
Very
that is
interesting
good.
detail.
That is really good. And here's the cool part about the series that connects. So what Kelly Thompson did, she literally put Diana in scenarios that were eerily similar to the traditional Greek mythology stories, like Perseus using Medusa's head to turn a giant creature into stone, her fighting a Minotaur in a maze. Granted, in this, she befriends the Minotaur. That's the other funny part about this series. Whenever Tom King refuses to do anything in his Wonder Woman series that fans want, the same issue that comes out for Absolute will do that thing. I know, I believe that I know that's not planned, but it is just the utter amount of hilarious when that keeps happening over and over and over again. It's like where he's like, I don't want to use the Amazons. Kelly Thompson is like, Amazons! And I'm like, this is just great. This is just fantastic.
That is so true. And the thing is, Tom King, he is so stubborn with, knowing that his story, his writing or whatever it's not there for Wonder Woman. I mean, he admitted when he first got the job that he didn't want to. He didn't want it. He didn't want to write Wonder Woman.
That's right. Tell your fans I don't want to write this character.
Yeah. So you have this, and Kelly Thompson, she fought to write Diana as she basically supposed to be. That she still, even if she is in this darker environment, and some things you can twist with her personality, but she still has those core values, deep down. Or honestly, it's not even deep down. We see it. It's conveyed right in your face. But when you have someone like Tom King who doesn't want to write the character, doesn't want to he doesn't even want to study her, study her history, and he writes her for his own comfort. When you have a writer who writes the character for their comfort, guaranteed that the character isn't going to be written as they should be. They are going to have a twisted personality and borderline unrecognizable, or just pale in comparison of who they are.
And that's how Tom King writes literally every single character he's ever written.
Right. So you have that, and then Thompson, with the story that Tom King had, was the Amazons being tortured, some of them killed, imprisoned, um, trafficked, you know, and they were just used as like this plot device, throwaway, basically, because we didn't see Diana mourn for them. We didn't see her actually try to save them. We didn't see anything. She was basically void of emotions. And then you have Thompson, where the sole motivation of Diana's journey of absolute is to find her sisters, is to know of her heritage as an Amazon. You know, that is kind of like Thompson is the anti-king. Like, is if you want to have the absolute verse mirror be the opposite of, the main line, Thompson definitely, she understood that assignment for sure, of being the opposite of Tom King.
Well, yeah, exactly. And the other thing about this that I want to bring up is, the other thing that Thompson said when she was getting into this was that this story is organically feminist. Now, here's the thing. In today's comic fandom, you would think that would mean tone deaf and woke. Because when some writers say that, that's what it turns into. Like, the men are useless and Diana's always great. She's a Mary Sue and stuff. All this series does just has Diana doing cool stuff. We see her learn how to do the stuff, which is important. But it's like, no, she fails. She makes mistakes. And it's like, it's feminist in the way that feminism should be, if you catch what I'm saying.
It's okay. One thing I want to say, the way woke is used, it's supposed to be a positive thing, and the way the internet has, basically distorted the meaning of it is very disappointing, because what woke means is basically be aware of things, be more inclined to, just important matters. And yeah, that means to fight for this, for things that aren't right, so I would say the woke thing is not a bad thing. It's just the way it's used.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. But I'm saying, when a writer comes out and says it's for feminist, the negative version of woke is what comes to mind with people. Exactly. But the way Kelly does it is the way you should do it, because it's like, no, you can do all this empowerment stuff with Wonder Woman. Great, fantastic. But what Kelly never really does is she never really craps on Steve Trevor. The one time that Wonder Woman, like, for lack of a better term, craps on a dude is when she's talking to that general and she goes, okay, you can either stand in my way or get out of my way. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go save people. Yeah, that's great. I love that. But it's like, not once does it feel like Diana's a Mary Sue.
Right. As you said, she does stumble a little bit, but she has that, she conveys her emotions and everything like that. And yeah, with feminism, it's supposed to be equality. Is fighting for the rights to respect women. And that's basically what she means. Is organically feminist, meaning this story is, respecting women. It is a female's story. You are going to get strong female characters. They aren't going to be used as just a plot device. They aren't going to be, for male gaze or for these male perspectives. That she is going to be 100%, respected as the main protagonist. And we of course appreciate that, because again, as the opposite, King has not valued Diana's lore at all. we see again the Amazons being treated that way, and then where are they now? Yeah, she's dealing with the whole mouse man thing, but where if some of the Amazons were rescued or whatever after Sovereign whole thing, why didn't we see that? Why didn't we see
Oh,
Diana?
Flash saved him all. Oh, come on.
Yeah, why didn't we see Diana with her sisters? Why haven't we seen them with, even though I wouldn't say we want to see them with the Chucky baby because they're already traumatized enough, but why don't we see them with her?
Mm-hmm.
Um, why don't we see Diana talking about them? No, her motivation. First of all, you start off the story with Sovereign, with the Amazons being, the main target.
Mm-hmm.
And halfway through, you just switched and have Diana's sole motivation and the whole story, and now everything about her is just about Steve. That is the anti-feminist message right there. And for her, she's disrespected, she's undervalued, she is just not. This is definitely you putting this in a male perspective and forcing Diana. You can say that she's the main character, but no, she's basically the main mouthpiece. And this is definitely a male fantasy for Steve and a self insertion because, you know, King has said that he likes Steve and he thinks of himself and Steve to be alike. So
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely that too. But again, as you said earlier, Steve is he's a supporting character as he should be and still on the sidelines enough to him not overshadowing Diana or anything like that. He's there but not in the annoying sense.
Yeah, and that is the chief way. In that, here's if I could summarize the absolute Wonder Woman series in the most succinct way. Absolute Wonder Woman is the anti Tom King Wonder Woman. Every way that Tom King screws up writing Diana, Kelly Thompson does it better or does the opposite well. And I'm like, that's why this series is a godsend, pun intended, to Wonder Woman fans. So then we get to issue 12, which features, first off, Zatanna, or as you call her, Hannibal Lecter, which, here's the thing. When you have a character that uses her mouth to, like, say spells, that makes sense. Oh, by the way, and Kelly basically indicated that Zatanna is the strongest witch. So now we're going to see a magical challenge to Diana because previously in the series she's always been able to fall back on magic. Now she can't do that.
Yeah, that is going to be I think the next couple of issues we will see Diana struggling a little bit with,
Mhm.
well, I'm guessing that will be Zatanna.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also have like all of the different Wonder Woman rogues in the absolute universe, including the alligator one, which is a rogue from Yara's world. And I go, okay, that's a deep cut. And then we have Cheetah, which I'm thinking that has to be Priscilla Rich, right? Because Minerva isn't Cheetah in this universe yet. Oh, I got an idea, Britt. What if Minerva? Priscilla Rich is like hunting Diana and like scratches Minerva, and you know how, like, in the new 52, she scratched Superman and turned him into a cheetah monster? What if that's how Absolute Barbara turns into Cheetah?
Well, that would be interesting. I mean, that's as interesting as she's gonna get, I guess.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I do love how like bound up Zatanna is. He's like, oh no, she ain't moving at all.
Yeah, that's again, it's very I'm anticipating seeing her design actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be. I wonder, are they gonna go with the fishnets, or are they not gonna go with the fishnets? There's a lot of different directions they can go with that, and it's like, here's the thing though, and this also links to Superman. It's like the idea where not only are the characters in new scenarios, but they're facing new villains. Like, again, Ra's al Ghul being a Superman villain. That's something that's like, I never would have thought of that, but that's actually a great idea. And it's like, when you get to like Wonder Woman, she's gonna fight Zatanna, and obviously, at least I think, turn her to the good side. So again, showing Diana's like empathy and ability to bring out the best in people. And it's like, yeah, it's like it's like, here's the thing. These are the ways, and like the absolute universe may in some areas follow similar plot points to the main universe, but these are the ways that it differs greatly from the main universe in fantastic ways, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it's as I said earlier, SuperLoner needs to pick up momentum a little bit, but the tweaks here and there they're fascinating. And I would say that the best, let me see. I would rank these actually Wonder Woman as far as, really just keeping the fans happy, I would say. So I'm ranking that. I would say Wonder Woman. Then the most outlandish actually is Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
And then Batman is number 3 because, again, this is very much just a Scott Snyder, Michael Bay, Frank Miller on steroids book. So he took, his idea for the absolute universe. That's his baby or whatever. So, he would be number 1 in that aspect because he's actually taking advantage of what this is supposed to be.
It's like, have you seen the origins for like how like Penguin and Two-Face and Riddler become the villains?
Right. As I said, he's definitely taking that whole I love horror type thing. Then I haven't heard much about Flash.
Flash is really fun. I'm really enjoying that because what they do with that. So Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, is a woman in this, and she's like the one behind the scenes kind of manipulating everything. And Barry Allen was a scientist that was trying to create super soldiers, and that's what the rogues are, like Captain Cold and all that stuff. But when they meet Wally, and Wally has a little monkey on his shoulder named Grodd that talks to him like mentally, but they're all friends and stuff. So the rogues eventually catch up to Wally, and they're like, okay, because the rogues are all, here's the story of the rogues. They're all soldiers that got kicked out of the army. And it's like, here comes Barry Allen saying, hey, we can make you super soldiers. And they're like, okay, wait, so it's not like we had anything else going on. And they're assigned to hunt down Wally because Wally stumbles into the lab and gets like attacked. And then they kind of tease that this is the book with the multiverse thing because it's like it's complicated. But the point is he escapes and the rogues find him. And then eventually the rogues are like, screw it. Kid, you want to come hang out with us? So the Flash is teaming up with the rogues in this. So I'm like, okay, that's actually really dope. I love that. And Wally is actually 15 years old instead of being like an adult with Barry.
Okay, so that's number 4. Then very interesting. Green Lantern is number 5.
Ooh, Green Lantern is incredible, Britt. It's like, so Abin Sur is this weird, freaky alien that shows up, and you think that all of these characters are killed in the process of it because he's like, John Stewart of Earth, you will be judged. And then it pulls him, it like seemingly disintegrates them, but it pulls them into like the land. Because I'm sure you've seen the images of the Green Lantern that just falls on a city. And when you're inside the lantern, you see all of them have become like imbued with certain energies. One of which it's like John is now the yellow energy. Hal is now Black Hand. So Hal is like struggling with like control. Joe Mullins is the main Green Lantern, and Guy Gardner is like a sheriff that was turned into like imbuing the red energy, which is essentially like the different Lantern Corps. But in this universe, the Guardians are the bad guys, and they tried to wipe out the Green Lanterns.
Oh wow. Well, that's interesting too.
So good.
And then you have the last, which is a SuperLoner.
Super what? Oh, SuperLoner. So
Loner.
Yes, that's funny. And okay, we'll talk about that when we get to its reviews. And they're picking up. It's like the next issue after this with the new arc is going to be like the big battle scene, and I'm like, okay, it's really cool. But Britt, you can't knock the fact that how much Laura did this series give us.
That's what I said. The flashbacks of Krypton was the best part, and the art is it's good.
The cape, or it looks like angel wings. I'm like,
right.
Oh.
The cape is good. It's just the story that's lacking. The present day story.
That's normally the way Jason Aaron operates. That works. But anyway, so let's talk about how it compares to how Absolute Wonder Woman compares to Mainline. Well, for one thing, it's an original idea, and it's actually more Wonder Woman. And this feels more epic because here's the thing. I feel like as the years went by, DC forgot about Wonder Woman being a mythological figure, because obviously when you factor into like the Perez run, Rucka, Jimenez, they all factored in the gods and like the mythology portion of Wonder Woman, where it's like since like I would say Rebirth, they like tried to kind of make Wonder Woman, I don't want to say a street level character, but almost street level, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, they wanted to strip a lot of Diana's more, again, the complexities that goes within her character. When you have writers that don't know how to write such things, they want to strip them away. So you have her watered down. You have the gods not there. You have the whole magic, the magical elements and everything like that. That's taken away. Diana, yeah, as you said, Diana isn't a street level character, but at the same time, she's just a generic warrior woman at this point. And she does monster of the week type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Where with this feels like she's going on an epic journey, like the Clash of the Titans movies and stuff. And I really dig that. And like, yeah, the return to magic is so good. And then it's like, I like where with this, I assume that Kelly Thompson is going with the clay origin, which I think she even said so. And it's like the way that's like, no, a baby just shows up at Circe's doorstep and then she raises the baby. And again, you would think being raised by someone as hardened at first by Circe would turn Diana into like an acolyte that would be her revenge on the gods. And I go, see, here's the thing. There's this other issue. I think it was like last month or the month before this. It's so good. Where like Circe asks Hecate, she goes, why Diana? Why a little girl? And then Hecate basically says, because no one takes little girls seriously. No one's going to see this coming.
I mean, that's the simplest.
It's true, though.
It's true. That is the most, I don't know, answer or solution that anyone could come up with. That is something. But of course, it has more than that, because Diana is essentially the chosen one still, of everything. She is that one soul, even as a little girl, that and I think that that's what you see. Diana, even as a baby, changes so much. She changes of all things hell into something pleasant, in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And and obviously the art is stellar. The color, the best part of this book is the colors. And from a visual perspective, I love Hayden Sherman's art and Matea, obviously. The colors and how they seem to glow off the page, particularly all the reds. Like, let me put it this way: Jordi Belair earned that damn Eisner with every single page of this book.
So true.
So then we get to the weaknesses or challenges versus the main line. Is like, yeah, having a series like this, you do risk. Yeah, the alienating fans is like the thing, but this is the one time where the traditional fans are fine with this. Oh, it says a lot, by the way. I love this, where the fan base calls the raised in hell Diana the real Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she, regardless of anything, and it's also an examination of the environment. Again, she doesn't have the Amazon, so how does she become who she is? And it is within, just her soul. And that's, I think, again, with the flashbacks and everything, that is what Thompson, the background story, the subplot in a way that she's trying to tell too. And with the fans, they're already picky about anything. You can have a good story with just recently with the discourse of online. There's some who it was of the time, and there is going to be flaws in every story, but it's some that are trying to hate on Perez, and it's like, first of all, that is the most that is the modern, origin for Diana. That is the go-to for anyone in world building, the supporting cast, everything. That should be the go-to for Diana 100% is Perez run. But because it's certain aspects that they don't agree with, it's just they want to write it off. And it's like, why? It's only because these certain subset of fans, they have these ideas that they want their headcanons to become written by DC, to become official. And it's like, no, some of your headcanons are very out there, and it honestly is unrecognizable to the character. And
yeah, exactly.
They end up getting angry, because their headcanons aren't followed through.
And that's why Britt, it's like, I'm against the whole argument, oh, this character was coded a certain way. And I go, no,
Yeah,
they
the
weren't.
coded
That's just
thing
you
is a
reading
little
into it.
right. But you have this also where you have writers that, well, we've talked about this too, the revisionist history, especially it is very, very obvious with Greg Rucka and how his runs of Diana is very destructive. It's not actually building up her world at all. He takes a lot of what's previously built and just bulldoze it in a sense. And he twists a lot of it and makes it his own thing. You can make things your own thing, yes, but the way he does it is very mean-spirited, and you have these fans, it's kind of like he knows what to say in order for it to be accepted by the fans. And
Exactly.
because the fans haven't had a decent run for Wonder Woman in such a long time, they grasp onto this and think that, oh, this is how it should be. And Greg Rucka is a fan favorite writer, but you're not seeing that the issues that he has are much bigger than, than anyone wants to actually see it as
Oh,
it
trust
is.
me. Oh, Jesse. So I looked at the sales of his Cheetah book, and we'll get to that when we get to the Cheetah book. this book flopped harder than Trinity did.
Yes, but not only that, but apparently some of the characters that he has written are very problematic. The way he characterized them, the way, certain things that he implement
Oh,
within them. And it's like, well, yeah, that's what we have been saying for, you know, since Rebirth.
oh,
Um,
we'll see. We'll
and
save that until the end because, oh boy, did I have a thing on this, and it's part of. See, as you guys know, Britt is fantastic at titling stuff. I threw my hat in the ring, and I like to think I did a pretty good job. So we'll see on that. So, and it's like with the less supporting cast. Here's the thing: when you get to, particularly with the villains, the fact that Queen Clea is a villain at all. Here's the good part about that, because then people are exposed to a Wonder Woman villain that they didn't know about and can now say, "Oh, Wonder Woman has like rogues other than Silver Swan, Doctor Psycho, and Cheetah." So it's like now people start to know more and they start to care more about this character. And again, it's like this is how you make the world to your point, Britt. This is how you make Kelly Thompson's version of Wonder Woman, if you will, but keep it consistent with who the character is.
right, this is
As you can see, I'm salty.
well, I mean, we have every right to be salty because since 2016 or so, the characters have been through the ringer and so have the fans. I mean, every time something is announced, we anticipate, anticipate it being the worst. So
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is.
Well, you do.
But,
I still have hope.
well,
I have to throw shade.
mm-hmm.
I love that. That's so good. All right, continue. I'll shut up.
But no, you don't have to. But yeah, again, it's just because the back and forth thing with trying to please. You're not gonna please everyone, but DC is in the realm, especially when they're desperate, um, of trying to please fans who talk so much on Twitter but they don't. Once they get their way, they feel like they got in their way, but they don't support the books. And for the longest time, I think with Wonder Woman, again, you have these writers who are intimidated by her, scared, and then you have the fans going back and forth with what they want, what they don't want. When you get it, you don't want it anymore, or it's not enough, you know, it's not good enough, or whatever like that. So that pretty much runs off the creative team.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have some creative teams that's just stubborn as hell and they're going to do what they want to do. And it's basically like middle fingers to the fans.
Exactly.
So you have this back and forth and this fight for this character. But again, if you respect her and you keep her core values as Thompson has done, you can put Diana in any environment,
Yeah,
in
this proves she's not hard to write.
yeah, you can put her in any type of setting and she can go through it. Diana, literally, we see it. She can go through hell, come out of it, and still be. She might be a little traumatized. She might be a little stern, a little bit, whatever, but she is still who she is.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like, yeah, it's like the world around her is dark and gritty, but she still maintains that purity of Diana. It's like I love the part, by the way, where she sees a lizard and she essentially is like the lizard tries to attack, and then Diana says no, 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 and then kisses it, and I go, oh, that's great. But it's like, you see, again, it's like throughout all, and there's my yeet moment. There's my yeet moment. But it's like it's like essentially the thing about this is like with Diana, with the world being darker, the very fact that she is the one like guiding light, and if you're taking the absolute like one shot as a consideration, it's basically like she is what gets all the other superheroes to. It seems like the absolute universe legit just revolves around Wonder Woman at this point, and I love it.
Yeah, and with Snyder saying that she's the nexus, it's true. Diana will be the one to bring everyone together because everyone else is pretty much traumatized or having their own, they are living in hell, but Diana literally lived in hell. So she's the one that's in a she's the one that's the most sane, and she is that natural leader. So she is the one that can bring everyone together. I would say that it will be interesting for her to meet Cal because, again, he is the loner. He's the one who doesn't want to be around too many people or to meet another. She's still someone like him, Um, even though she had Circe, as a mother who took care of her, Diana was still taken away from her actual, um, mother and family as a child, as a baby. She might have not known them, but it's still that is what her motivation is. And that's the same thing with Cal too. He, you know, his world was taken away when he was only 12 or 13, and that is his motivation. Krypton is his motivation. So it's still that parallel of them crossing paths, and it's interesting to see who. First of all, I don't trust Aaron to write their first meeting. I definitely would want Thompson to write it.
In all likelihood, if it's being done the way that like the Batman and Wonder Woman meeting is, it would be like one issue is written by Aaron and one by Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest, that's the way that they would probably do it. Which I don't know. We'll see how that goes if they do it. But it's like, so then let's go with, oh boy, issue 12. Again, I said this before. I love the design of Absolute Hippolyta with all the gold. That just, and the headdress and everything. The designs in this book never miss.
Right, and those piercing blue eyes. And also, it looks like when that she has on gold, but she also wears black.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a comment on Twitter to say that she might still be basically in mourning of Diana being taken away. So the black and gold, if that is what that symbolizes, a very nice touch.
Well, we'll also see now that she knows Diana is like alive, maybe she'll go to a different color. But here's the other thing is that Thompson has also said that she won't, that like the Amazons won't like Diana as for it's like Thompson has no plans for Diana to ever regain the Amazons, which that makes it very heartbreaking. At least they both, her people and her, they know that they're both alive. And again, it's like, just seeing Hippolyta's face knowing Diana's alive, I'm just like, oh, that's so sweet. But it's like it adds a little bit more of like the like tragedy of it that like they'll never meet, at least currently.
Exactly. I mean, that's the point of this universe is the most important thing is pretty much taken away. And the most important thing to Diana is the Amazons and her mother. Even if she had Circe, yes, but it's still that relationship with Hippolyta is number one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always very important. I would like it if, like, you know how, like, in Earth 1, when Hippolyta had that mirror that can see in a man's world, how great would it be if we had issues, if we had, like, parts where, like, Hippolyta is watching Diana's adventures through the mirror and gets to know her daughter that way?
Oh, that would be neat.
Yeah, it's like that way she could be like, and maybe occasionally she can like say Diana, and then Diana's like, I heard Hippolyta's voice or something like that in her dreams.
Yeah, that would be something.
Yeah, but and then you get obviously we talked about Zatanna's reveal, but I also love Veronica Cale also being like the main antagonist, and it seems like of the entire DC universe, because if you read that Absolute special, it's basically like she's the leader of that version of like the Justice League, of the Absolute Justice League is like made up of the villains trying to maintain order, and it's like everyone else they've like paid off, and I go. That I love how central Wonder Woman's world is to the Absolute Universe. Because as Wonder Woman fans, we know this barely happens when she gets this much of a central role. And I go, I will take it. And it's like, again, it's like more of Diana being a peaceful person. And it's just every single like issue. And when you think about it, there has never been a dud issue of this series, at least in my opinion. There have been some that I've enjoyed more, but there's never been one where I'm like, oh, that sucked.
Right. Because it is an ongoing story that doesn't drags out. It's just something that every issue is important.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's where it has the advantage over like the other Absolute books, because Superman, I think, is well paced. You may disagree with me on that one. Batman is superbly paced. Martian Manhunter is like a turtle that's a one-legged turtle. It's that slow, which that could work for like certain stories. It's just sometimes with Absolute Martian Manhunter, I'm like, the hell did I just read? Flash is fine. The other Absolute books are fine, but Wonder Woman has the best pacing of the group, I think.
Quite honestly, Martian Manhunter, it seems like a book that you might understand if you're high.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Robert and I talk about this all the time. We're like, what the hell did we read? And he goes, I mean, yeah, it's like, here's the thing. The idea of it, at least from the way we're looking at it, is that so John Jones is like a cop, and so he's a member of the FBI, and the Martian Manhunter thing is a separate like being, and they've merged into one, and like he can hear the thoughts of people, and I'm like, okay, that works. We've even introduced White Martians, so they're starting to get the story going, but it's like there have been regular issues where I'm reading this and I go, what? It's like the other books are fine. Green Lantern is great because as someone that like knows Green Lantern lore really well, it is fantastic to see someone. It's the same effect I have for Absolute Wonder Woman. It's like the idea that like that it's like Ewing takes like all of the like lore for Wonder Woman. I mean for Green Lantern, changes it, but changes it in a way where it still feels like Green Lantern, and that is extremely hard to do.
Right. Again, it just has to be a writer who cares for the character themselves and understands the lore, understands the core concepts, and then again, you can easily place them in different settings.
Exactly. So then we get to our reviews. So we're going to go to Absolute SuperLoner, and again, his relationship with Saul is amazing, and I like how we see more of his flashbacks. And when the reason why he was so closed off to humanity is because it's like he tore off a peacemaker's arm, which was fantastic because I love seeing peacemakers harmed in this universe. Which that's probably a reason why I love Absolute Superman is that he keeps kicking peacemaker's ass. But I also love where like he doesn't know how to control his powers, so he needs to keep his distance from people for their own safety. And I like where Soul makes the absolute fortress of solitude, and I'm like, yes, you need your solitude. And I go, oh man, that is really well done. And then it's like you see he still like saved people around Smallville. So it's like anyone that's like a friend of Superman eats for free here. And I go, okay, that's really nice. So they're showing you it's a similar concept to Smallville adopting Superman, but it's like he's not like all the time at Smallville, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the concepts are there. It's just the execution is kind of it's lacking.
Okay, I can see that, but the very least, he's not with Lois, so you can. Yeah, but
Well,
I
yeah.
know. But it's like, let's wait and see what happens there, because it's like the potential is there to pursue something else. Hell, I would even take Talia at this point if they wanted to go in that
They're
direction.
supposed to be siblings, so that's a
Well,
no-go.
yeah, exactly. I just realized that. I mean, but it's like, well, obviously, there's one character in the Absolute Universe you would love for Superman to be in a relationship with. We'll see if they actually do it. But it's also Lana
You know
being
they're not.
huh?
I say, you know they're not.
Yeah. But it's like Lana being a waitress and stuff. Okay, and I dig that. And she has a shotgun under the table. And I'm like, yeah, that's Lana. That is so Lana.
I mean, that's her, but why is she dressed and look like she's from the 50s? You
Well,
know?
Smallville has always been kind of like looking like a town from that time period. So is it really that surprising?
Just because the town looks like it don't mean you have to dress like it.
Well, it could be she works at a diner that's themed that way. So those exist.
Did it say it was themed?
I don't know, but I don't know. It didn't really bother me, so I'm like, oh, okay, that works. And again, Superman's relationship with his cape, where he then calls it Soul L. I go, that is so good. I love where he's like, I'm not alone because I have you. And it flashes back to like all the times where like, I've never really been alone or without care because you've been there. And by the way, Britt, this fixes a major Superman issue that you and I both have. This is Superman really embracing his Kryptonian culture, huh?
He is, which is wonderful. I love that.
But I love Sol making an umbrella for him in the rain.
Or did I read that right? That he like took a bath in lava?
Yeah, yes, you did. Yes, you did. I mean, his Kryptonian side heals, so he's invulnerable to lava. But it's like, I love where Sol goes. Yeah, as the humans say, your natural odor is like repugnant now. So go bathe, and just like throws him in there. I love that. But that's the thing that I really like about this is like he now has, in addition to the cape and stuff, he has a remnant of Krypton with him. It's kind of like if Krypto came with him, or Kara. Oh, absolute Kara. Oh God, imagine what absolute Kara is gonna be like if she shows up at all.
She's going to be Red Lantern Kara times 100 probably.
Or what if she's like, okay, you could go with that. You could kind of go with that, I guess. But it's like, or it could be maybe she's like the clone of Superman, but it's like she's happened to be a girl. I don't know. There's any number of
Gender bent
directions.
Connor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like to stabilize the DNA, they gave Talia's DNA instead of like let's say Vandal or Lex.
That'll be interesting.
So yeah, so there's a lot we can do in there. So let's get into the other series. And this one was a fan request by NJ. So let's talk about Greg Rucka's fanfic, aka Cheetah's FortniteTeam. Yes, that's my title, Britt, because the minute I see someone in this type of hoodie, that just screams Fortnite to me.
I don't know.
So let me say this. The good of this series is I do like Nicola Scott's art and stuff, and I like some of the characters included. However, here's the problem with it. Yes, you summarized it perfectly. His version of Cheetah is boring and overrated. Also, it literally repeats the same plot points that she was beyond. Like, she doesn't need to eat people anymore. Wasn't that a big thing that happened?
I don't know. And the thing is, if she's being a cannibal already and stuff like that, you're trying to sympathize with that. I mean, there's no way you can sympathize with that.
Also, that's not the way Cheetah looked in the Tom King book. Not even her hair color is accurate.
It's not the way she looked. I don't even think in it's not even the way she looked in Rucka's
Rebirth run. In the Rebirth one, she was straight up an animal, but this one, This one, it's starting to look like she's at a production of Cats, but it's like it's like if you remember the King run, she had like longish, like reddish hair, more womanly features, and didn't have to eat people. But it's like, and also here's the other thing: when has Cheetah ever been friends with Cheshire? As far as I know, they've never met.
I have no idea.
It's like, no, but on the bright side is that Rucka does use a lot of interesting characters. By the way, Rucka did not choose any of these characters; they were just assigned to him.
Are we sure about that?
That's what Rucka said.
That's what he said.
I love how you don't. Well, yeah, it's like with what he's been saying recently, it could be like.
Because apparently one of these characters, I guess it's the pink-haired girl, is his OC that's supposed to be Damien's cousin or something like that. So
I see. It could be just Chesser and Cheetah are the ones that they want to use. But here's what I brought up earlier, Britt. So this book debuted, and it debuted lower than Trinity debuted. Not only that, but it's currently, I think if I remember correctly, the most recent issue. I'm gonna pull up the August list. Hang on. So I'm gonna unshare this because we brought up all the points. But I am going to go to ICV2 because your boy has a pro account. ICV2 August 2025. Because when we go to, this is really good, but you're going to love this. All right. So I want you to guess. Hang on. How's this working? Hang on. Oh, okay. I see where it is. I want you to guess. In August, guess and under at what place this series debuted in. Guess.
Oh, let me see.
I don't know if you're gonna. Don't look it up.
It had to be. No. 135. One
Higher.
Okay. 65. 165.
Much lower.
45?
No, by lower I mean lower on the list.
Oh Lord. 195?
Higher.
No way. Not 200.
125.
Oh, you meant higher like that. Okay. I'm sorry.
The debut issue. 120. It is high on the bright side. It's higher than Trinity issue 3, which is 134 in August.
Well, that's totally guaranteed. Trinity's book is definitely, unless it went up because it was a Batcat issue. That definitely is now probably out of the 200 and will be unlisted.
That would be hilarious. Yeah, because it's going low, and I'm starting to think that a regular Wonder Woman is going to be below 100 when we see it.
Oh, I definitely wouldn't be surprised because a lot of
the shield sites have been tearing this thing apart.
That and is pretty much known now that across the board, DC sales aren't good at all. Like, and you've even said it, I think, about and there's been people talking, on Twitter about coming up on a relaunch since, I mean, Batman is always number one, so it's pretty much an obvious thing that they will have other books canceled and relaunching soon.
Yeah, which I would be very happy with that. And Scott Snyder has backed that up, by the way, where he says that there's going to be like a lot of writers moving around and like writers being elevated and such. That's where I pretty much am thinking that at New York Comic Con they're going to announce this, and then they'll announce that like Tom King's Wonder Woman run will be coming to an end, and then we'll announce who it is, and it'll be like in March when the new writer will come on. Hopefully we'll find out who the new writer is, and then here's the fun part, Britt. If that is announced and he does end in like February, I will have predicted the issue range and that the Mouseman arc would be his last arc.
I mean,
I am Nostradamus.
I mean, where exactly can you take this book, with after Mouseman? And you're already setting up this, Wonder War or whatever.
Which
You're
no
telling
one's
the story.
gonna do.
Exactly. You're already telling a story. Like there's nothing. It's predictable that it's going to be prevented, but this is present day. So unless like the matriarch, like what are you gonna do? Kill a baby, or is she going to grow up with Diana to not turn into the villain? Like how are you going to prevent this? You basically have written yourself in a corner with this thing, and especially with how early it's supposed to you're revealing this basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's no way he can have any other story for Wonder Woman. If the only story that he wants to tell is Steve returning and basically doing a Wonder Woman rebirth that Tomasi did for Superman.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like it's like again. Again, we'll see what happens, and actually, hopefully next week we'll have answers and we can report them to you live on this a live episode of Super Wonder this week. And I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, do I anticipate that like we'll get saved more Tom King Wonder Woman issues? I would say yes, because his sales are not good no matter what he says, and the book is starting to get dragged even by the chill sites. Like the minute AIPT starts bashing the writing but praising the art, that's when you know you maybe should consider changing writers. But again, I've been disappointed by DC in the past. So again, all that I'm saying, moderate your expectations, because I'm not telling you this is 100% guaranteed to happen. It could, very well could not. So let's just carry on and we'll see what happens. You better believe that if it's announced that King is off Wonder Woman, Britt and I will be jumping off our, I guess, chairs and floors, wherever you are, Britt. We will be bouncing off walls. Let me put it to you that way. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, I think that's a good place to leave it. So, Britt, do you have any stories you want to tease us with?
All right. So I have uploaded a one-shot, and I'm finishing up a couple of more that will be uploaded next week. We're getting closer, well, somewhat to holiday season with each passing day. So first it will be a Halloween type theme one shot, then continuing on with Odyssey and Shelter that is pretty much holiday themed. So that will be uploaded during the holidays. And then I have two, I would say they will be 6 chapters, short chapters, stories. That one was a request, and the other, well, I'll let you know, Jared, afterwards. It's a pretty, it's a surprise, and it will be within the Shelterverse.
Oh boy, I can't wait. That's gonna be really fun. But yeah, and I got a few ideas from our show, Britt, that I'm gonna tell you. But stay woke, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs with General Zod, and Steve Trevor, he belongs at the bottom of a hydraulic press. Zois and Max about for life. I'll see you guys later.